The money's already been split, the house already sold, and my Aunt Clara hasn't spoken to my mother in 14 months, not because of what I did, but because of what I didn't do. My grandmother's name was Edith. She was 81 when she died, and she spent the last 2 years of her life in a bedroom at my mother's house. The one with the floral wallpaper she always said was too busy, but she never asked us to change it. Edith was sharp right up until she wasn't. There was about a 6-month window near the end where she still knew who we were, still made her dry little jokes at dinner, but she was tired. Genuinely, deeply tired. And she'd started letting people make decisions for her that she would never have allowed before. That's important, because that's when the will got changed. My mother, her name is Renata, had been Edith's primary caregiver for almost 3 years. Every appointment, every prescription, every middle-of-the-night fall scare. She drove 45 minutes each way twice a week before Edith moved in, and then after that she was just always there. I saw what it cost her. The weekends she gave up. The way she'd come into the kitchen some mornings looking like she hadn't really slept. Clara, my mother's older sister, lives 2 states away. She visited 4 times in those 3 years. 4. And each time she'd breeze in with flowers and wine and some new story about her travels, and Edith would just light up, the way she always had around Clara. She was the charming one, always had been. I'm not saying Clara is a bad person. That's not the point of this. The point is that Edith had a previous will, one she'd written 11 years earlier with a lawyer, when she was sharp and deliberate and knew exactly what she wanted. In it, the estate was split equally. Half to my mother, half to Clara. The house, the savings account, everything. But about 8 months before she died, Edith told my mother she wanted to change it. She said she wanted to leave more to Renata because of everything she'd done. She was grateful. She was lucid enough in that moment to mean it. What I didn't know, what nobody told me until later, was that when the paperwork actually got drawn up, something went wrong. A number. One number in the percentage split. It was supposed to read 65% to my mother, 35% to Clara. Instead, it read 35% to my mother and 65% to Clara. A transposition. A simple, stupid transposition. And I found out about it 3 days before Edith died. I was in her room, going through some of the paperwork she kept in the old cedar box on her dresser. She'd asked me to find her insurance card, and I came across a copy of the updated will. I wasn't looking for it. I almost didn't read it. But I did, and I saw the numbers, and I sat there on the edge of her bed while she was sleeping, and I did the math twice to make sure I was reading it right. I was reading it right. Edith was on oxygen by then. She slept most of the day. My mother was downstairs making soup she wasn't going to eat, and I sat there holding that piece of paper, and I thought about what it would mean to walk downstairs and say something. Here's what I told myself in that room. I told myself that bringing it up now, 3 days before Edith was expected to die, would mean paperwork, lawyers, phone calls. It would mean my mother would have to stop being a daughter for 72 hours and become a claimant. It would mean telling a dying woman that the last thing she formally did might have been done wrong. It would mean chaos at the worst possible moment. I told myself Edith was past the point of signing anything anyway. I told myself maybe I was wrong about what she'd intended. Maybe I'd misunderstood something my mother said months ago. Maybe the numbers were right and my memory was the thing that was off. I put the paper back in the box. I found the insurance card. I went downstairs and handed it to my mother, and I said nothing. Edith died on a Thursday morning. It was quiet. My mother was holding her hand. The will was read 6 weeks later. My Aunt Clara got 65%. My mother got 35%. I watched my mother's face when the numbers were read, and she didn't say anything for a long time. Then she said very quietly that she must have misunderstood what Edith wanted. She blamed herself for not being clearer, for not making sure. Clara said she was surprised too, and that she'd be happy to discuss it privately. They never did discuss it, not really. Because the moment it became about money, my mother shut down. She couldn't make herself fight for it without feeling like she was betraying Edith's memory. And Clara didn't push, which is its own kind of answer. The estate closed, the house sold, the numbers stayed the way they were. And I never said a word. I've thought about why, and I've landed on something I don't love about myself. I was afraid that if I told my mother what I'd seen in that room, she'd ask me why I didn't say something immediately, and I wouldn't have a good answer. Because the real reason, underneath all those things I told myself about chaos and paperwork and dying women, the real reason was that I didn't want to be the one to start that fire. I didn't want to be in the middle of it. I didn't want my name attached to any of it. I let my mother lose money she'd earned with 3 years of her life because I didn't want to be uncomfortable for a week. She doesn't know I saw it. She thinks it was just a mistake that no one caught. And I have let her go on thinking that for 14 months while she and Clara stay mostly silent on the phone and my mother takes on extra shifts because her share of the savings wasn't what she planned for. There are moments, Sunday mornings mostly, I don't know why Sunday mornings, where I think about going to her and telling her everything. And then I think about her face, the way she'd look at me. Not angry, maybe, possibly something worse than angry. So I make coffee. I sit at the table. I think about Edith's floral wallpaper that was too busy but no one changed. And I carry it. I don't know what the right thing was. I've turned it over so many times it's lost its shape. Maybe there was no clean version. Maybe the moment I saw that document and didn't walk downstairs, the clean version was already gone. Or maybe I just needed it to be gone, so I could live with what I did. What would you have done? Tell me in the comments.